Hi guys! With the storms currently rushing over our country and keeping me away from the range, there is no better time like right now to unbox my brand new rifle. If you have seen my last video where I visited Crown MKII Sport, you could already have catched a glimpse from what I have here. If you haven't seen that video yet, I highly recommend checking it out because it's a really awesome shop and you get a little bit of inside view of how it looks. Now, before we go ahead, unbox it, look at all these features and the brand new color for the Mark II crown that I have right here. I would like to ask, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you like what I do, go down there, hit that big fat red subscribe button before we go ahead. I will just wait 1 second so you don't have to miss anything. Right, thank you very much. So, let's get started. And there we have it. Such a beautiful rifle. Now, this is the one that I'm talking about. It's the GRS FX Crown Mark II in the new color called the Nordic Wolf. Really looks beautiful. But before we take a closer look at this one, let's see what else you get in the box. My Crown Mark II is actually a Continuum, so it means you get 2 barrels. The one that it's installed, that you see right here, it's a 380mm barrel, and you also get yourself a 700mm barrel if you just want a little bit of that extra power to shoot some slugs or some more efficiency or whatever. You have the option with the 700mm that comes standard with the Crown Continuum. Something else you get in the box is a side shot style magazine, as we all know by now from FX. Pretty cool magazines. You get one like this in your box. Something else you also get is a female Foster connection to connect to your fill holes to fill up your brand new gun, of course. Something else you get in your box is a pretty beautiful owner's manual, pretty classic owner's manual. You can see the original color, that forest green laminate of the GRS. But in that manual, everything is nicely explained. How to store it, how to fill your magazine, how to fill it up, how to adjust your trigger, you name it, it's all in there. So go ahead and read it before you continue. Let's touch up just a quick little bit at those barrels that come with the Crown Mark II. The barrels, when you untwist the shroud and you open it up, you can see it just looks a little bit different than the barrels that you get with your FX Impact, for instance. As these barrels are called super lightweight barrels, they weigh much less than the original barrels, but they're supposed to be just as stiff as well. The liners by now, if you have seen maybe my Instagram pictures, they are now engraved with the twist rate, the caliber, the article number. Pretty cool, so done with measuring the twist rate in order to find out which liner you have in your hands. Something else very cool, and we see now standard on all the FX barrels, is that on one side, with it marked with a P, you have the pellet transport, rotating it 180 degrees. You have the slug port to shoot some slugs and to get a little bit more air down the barrel. So, with all the accessories that come in the box, let me take it out of the box, have a closer look at this beautiful crown and all its features. Let me also quickly grab a coffee so we can get this done, shall we? And here she is, the beautiful FX Crown Mark II GRS in the Nordic Wolf color. Now a little word about the stock. The stock is made by GRS. It's a Norwegian company that is already producing rifle stocks for many years. And even when I was looking for my very first PCP, I stumbled upon some rifles with the GRS stock and I was a fan from the beginning. But sadly enough, they were not available on any airguns on the market, so I was happy to find out that FX teamed up with GRS to produce some beautiful stocks for the FX Crown. They also make a GRS stock for the Dreamline, if I'm not mistaken. They're beautiful as well. So, what should we do? Let's start with the stock. I will start from the back all the way to the front and just have a closer look at all its features. Quick sip of the coffee. So, starting at the back, we've got a nice rubber butt pad. Very soft, so it fits nice into the shoulder. I think they transferred this from the firearms world, as it has to recoil or absorb some of the recoil when you're shooting your rifle. The rifle stock is very customizable in length of pull and height of the cheek weld, and it's very toolless. So yeah, meaning toolless, you have these push buttons here that allow you to pull out the length of stock, or your butt pad, to say like this. Just by a press on the button, release the button, and it's fixed into its place. A little bit in front, the same thing with the cheek well. Press the button and the cheek well goes up. It goes up in small increments, in small steps, so you can really dial in that stock to shoot your shooting line according to the scope you are using. In my case, I have already mounted an Element Optics Titan on top of it, sitting in some Eagle Vision rings. Maybe it's a little bit oversized for this rifle, but I like the Element Optics Titan for its reticle, for its size, and really clear picture, of course. Now, we have touched up on the buttstock and the cheek piece that are both customizable. The next big item that comes into play is this hand grip, or pistol grip, or should I say. I'm a very big fan of putting my thumb up. I feel like when I'm shooting my impact, I put my thumb always a little bit to the side, so it's very comfortable for me to put my hand into this shelving place on top of it and have a really comfortable grip to it. It's nicely contoured, and if you look at the bottom side, or just right at the bottom of it, you can also see that the pistol grip is slightly fanned out into a more comfortable angle. Because when I shoot, like for instance my impact or something, with grips that are straightly underneath the chassis, my wrist is maybe a little bit more forced to get that perfect side. And with that GRS stock, it's a little bit more fanned outwards, so it's a little bit more relaxed and more comfortable for your wrist. I really like the grip of it. Another little mentioning of this grip, I'm a guy with pretty small hands, and some people say that the grip is maybe a little bit too large and it's very difficult to reach that trigger. Now for me, that's not a problem at all, as I really like to have an angled blade. Even on my impact, on my Dreamline, on my Maverick, all the blades on my triggers are angled. And so with this one, even with my smaller hands, I can have a nice grip to it, and my pad of my finger just aligns with the blade of the trigger. Really cool. And I'm really a big fan of this pistol grip, or this grip on this stock. Really comfortable to shoot. Love it. Going a little bit more forward, we have the trigger that's housed into the trigger guard. Very beautiful trigger, as we all know from FX. Fully adjustable, you can turn the blade, you can adjust all the first stages, second stages. Pretty cool, really love that match grade trigger. Quick sip of the coffee to keep the throat lubricated. Just above the trigger, you have a very nice safety that can be flicked on and off. Even while you're in your shooting position, it's a really convenient location, has a nice snap to it. Very nice. Let's keep it on safe for now. Then just in front of your safety, you have the side lever cocking, like we know from the FX rifles. Very smooth. Let me quickly uncock it again. Very smooth side lever cocking in a very convenient place. Even when you're shooting, you can reach with your fingers while keeping your thumb in this shelf. Really nice. And keep your shooting position. You can reach forward and even have your thumb help with the leverage to pull it back, even though it doesn't have a lot of force needed to cock it. Then on top, where the previous Crown, or the Mark I Crown, had the dovetail rail, if I'm not mistaken, the Crown Mark II now has a Picatinny rail, which we all love to mount our big fat accessories to it, like for instance these beefy mounts from Eagle Vision with the Element Optics Titan in it. Moving a little bit forward, we have just seen the Picatinny rail. Just underneath your front Picatinny rail, there are two screws, just right here, and on the other side another two. These four screws together hold your barrel in place, so by just undoing those four screws, you can simply slide out your barrel, insert another one, tighten up the four screws equally, and your barrel is nicely in place. Talking about switching barrels, as the Crown Continuum comes with a 700mm as well. If you would like to change from caliber, that's also very easily done by pulling your cocking lever backwards, and just on top there you have a small Allen key that you can take out, slide out the probe, put a new one in, and you're good to go. So very easy that way as well. As I mentioned before, the barrels that come with your Continuum are a 380mm and a 700mm. Both barrels are superior liners, and at the front, if you unscrew that little protector cap, you have your 1.5 UNF connection to mount your favorite thing to quiet it down. I'm not going to say what that really is, as YouTube doesn't really like it. Underneath your barrel, you have in this case, a 480cc carbon fiber bottle that is fillable to 250 bar, no more. These days there are 300 bar bottles available on the market, but those I think are specifically meant for the impact now, especially with the M3 with the dual regulator setup. This one has just one regulator, but doesn't mean it's less good. By looking at the bottom of the stock, you have two gauges that you can see. The front gauge is the one that shows your bottle pressure, and the back gauge is the one that shows your regulator pressure. In between the two gauges, when pulling on that little black knob, you can expose your male Foster connection to fill up your tank or your gun. And the first gauge, if you have a really closer look, there is a small hole where you can insert your Allen key to adjust your regulator. Turning the crown around, let's have a look at the transfer port. You have a transfer port that is possible to set to medium, to high and to low. That just by a flick of a knob you can adjust the opening of your transfer port. For instance, you have your Crown tuned to shoot at the bench, but then you want to go hunting into a barn or something and you don't want to harm the roof. You can just flick it to low, and if you know your holds and your settings on your scope, you can easily dial it back and be still very accurate. At the back of the gun we have the power wheel, like we now almost have on every FX gun, but this one is a little bit different. It even has 23 stages, where the M3 for instance has 16. Now 23 stages, very lovely, as you can just find that really sweet spot that your gun really likes without having to go into the internal adjustment screw of your hammer spring, as you will have to take out the safety, take out the stock and adjust it that way and put everything back together. So the 23 stages give you some fine adjustment on your hammer spring settings. And so that covers about all the features of the Crown MKII GRS in the Nordic Wolf color. Out of the box, it's very accurate, as I've tested it by Krala in their underground shooting range at 50 meters. Very accurate, how the way it came from the factory. Pretty cool. I hope you like this video. You will see many more pictures and videos with my beautiful Crown MKII, as you see it right here, because I'm really a fan of it, as you probably can see on the smile on my face. So I have to wait for the storms to pass, and then I will straightly go out and shoot it, of course. I thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you back in the next one. Bye.